We're talking today about home health risks. The Daniels family has been worried about their house ever since they all started coming down with these really strange symptoms. I want you to look at this.
It was going to be our dream home, and it's turned into a nightmare. Shortly after we moved in, I started noticing everybody being sick all the time. Chronic colds, chronic sinus infections, chronic ear infections, asthma, headaches, extreme fatigue. I started putting two and two together. When my neighbor said something to me one day, you know, God, you guys are always sick. One of you is always sick. It was a big light bulb moment. Maybe there is something in the house that's making us sick. I can't explain why we have these symptoms. When my mom comes to visit, she ends up getting sick. As far as my husband goes, he's never had allergies in his life until he's moved into this house. My kids are very often sick. My youngest one, he's had hearing loss from so many ear infections. Is it coming through the vent? Is it coming through the walls? I'm afraid of what's lurking around here that we're breathing in or ingesting. It makes me feel awful. I feel guilty as a parent. We're living in a house that may be toxic to everybody. This is not normal. I'm tired of being sick. I'm tired of my family being sick. I need an answer.
We wanted to get the Daniels family some immediate answers, so we sent husband and wife team Lisa and Ron Beres of GreenNest.com to test their home for just about everything you can possibly imagine. The first thing that Ron and Lisa tested for was radon.
All right, Chris, see that pack up there? What we're going to do is we're going to take a sample of your home's air to test the radon levels.
What is that?
Well, radon is actually a radioactive gas that seeps up from the soil and rocks in the earth, and it gets into your home through cracks and crevices throughout your home. All right, Chris, look at your beautiful granite countertops.
Thanks.
But again, granite itself can be radioactive.
It can?
It can. It actually is mined from the earth. A lot of people don't realize it because it is tasteless, it's odorless, and it's colorless. So the only way to know for sure is to test the granite. This one's actually going to collect for 48 hours in a carbon sachet, and we're going to find out if this could be contributing to radon in your air.
After the break, we'll meet the Daniels family, plus Lisa and Ron will reveal the results of their test and several other possible hazards lurking in the Daniels home and maybe yours after the break.
We're conducting the body voltage test. It comes from all the wiring. It comes from the alarm clock, the lamps. The reading that we're getting now from you holding the hand probe is very high.
Oh my God. We're all sick all the time. Chronic colds, sinus infections, ear infections, asthma, headaches.
So see this packet up here? What we're actually doing with that is we're going to take an air sample of your home to detect the level of radon. We're going to send it to the lab, and we're going to find out exactly what's going on with your home.
That was the Daniels family. They fear that they have mysterious symptoms resulting from something inside their home. They just don't know what it is. Christine Daniels is here today with her family. Biobiologists Lisa and Ron Beres tested their home for a variety of toxins. We're going to be revealing the results throughout the show. The first test we just talked about was for radon and allergens. And we're going to go through a number of the tests we did, but you have to be anxious, right, Christine?
Very much.
So the first thing was the radon. How did the radon look?
Well, the tests came back and the results were very low in both the air and even the granite countertop. So this is actually really good news.
Yeah.
So radon is low, which is good because radon can do bad things.
Well, it's very important because radon actually is the second leading cause of lung cancer. And what happens is not the radon itself, but radon breaks down, it decays, it forms radioactive particles, which we inhale into our lungs. These particles actually change the DNA in the cells in the lungs and lead to cancer in the lungs, as we see right here on the model.
And the only way you know is if you test.
Correct. And that's one of the standard tests you do when you buy a house. That's the reason they do radon testing.
And Travis, this testing can be expensive, but in places where radon is high, there's actually some government programs available for testing too.
Great point. I want you to take a look at the next test that Ron and Lisa performed.
We're going to take a water sample so we can take some extensive water diagnostics that we can take to the lab and make sure there's no arsenic, trihalomethanes, chlorine. The reason for it is simple, because the average water utility company only tests for about 100 chemicals when there's potentially thousands out there. We're conducting the body voltage test. And what this is an indirect measurement of the voltage you're being subjected to on a nightly basis. It comes from all the wiring. It comes from the alarm clock, the lamps. And this shows us indirectly how you're being affected. Why is that important? Well, it's important because the electrical fields, they disrupt our immune system, and they also interrupt sleep. So if you have irregular sleep patterns, it may be because of electrical fields. The reading that we're getting now from you holding the hand probe is very high. It's almost 2,000 millivolts. You want it typically below 100.
Oh my God.
So how do you all feel about this theory of electric fields affecting sleep and...
I buy into it because, you know, there's all that wiring that's around in the walls right by my bed, and, you know, that's how magnets work. That's how a magnetic field, you know, happens basically surrounding wires with electricity, and, you know, I think it can
Hard to
affect you.
prove cause-effect,
Right,
but
it's hard to prove, but,
Possible.
you know.
The science seems plausible, though.
do you all
Yeah,
have trouble
absolutely.
sleeping?
I wake up a couple times a night, almost on the dot, 1 o'clock a.m., 3 o'clock a.m.
So Ron, if
I
there is
didn't
this
even realize that this was a potential hazard, and it's right on the opposite side of the wall from our bedroom.
And most people don't.
It's on the
So
outside
what,
wall.
Ron, can people do if there's this theoretical risk of an increased electric field to minimize it?
Well, there's so many simple things you can do. You know, a good rule of thumb is really distance, 6 feet, any electrical device like an alarm clock or a lamp, 6 feet or further away from the head of your bed, or unplug it. That's key too. And make sure electricity is turned off in your room at night if you can do that while you sleep.
And Lisa, what did we find in the water?
Well, this was actually a definite problem area, and the contaminants that we found that were of a concern are aluminum, chlorine, haloacetic acids, that's a byproduct of disinfection. Trihalomethane's also a byproduct, and vanadium. And there was also a separate study done by an environmental group that found 23 pollutants, 9 of which were unregulated contaminants in your hometown's drinking water.
But we know that most water is going to have chlorine in it, as well as trihalomethanes, which are a breakdown product of chlorine. So some of these things you probably expected to find, but it sounds like you found things that we would never expect to find, right?
Right, and the really scary thing with these byproducts and the disinfecting chemicals that they use, I really want you guys to brace yourself for this, because these collectively, the exposure of these chemicals I mentioned, are actually linked to Alzheimer's, anemia, brittle bones, glucose intolerance, cardiac arrest, increased risk of cancer, asthma.
And that's a long list, and it doesn't mean that you're going to get everything from that at all.
Or
Those
anything
of
from
it.
that.
Those are just potential things that, you know, are just out there, but it doesn't mean you have to get any of it or any one of those things on there.
And they're already experiencing some of those on the list.
So
So.
a lot of
But,
those.
but again, I want to move on to other things too, because these are things that we know can cause so many problems. It also depends on the levels you've been exposed to consistently. It's a tough thing. One of the things we do want to give the Daniels family is a Filtrette under-sink water filtration system. And later in the show, we're going to actually show you at home how you can win one. So stay tuned for that opportunity. So the water, electric fields. The other thing we worried about in the Daniels home is what was their air quality like? What were the mold levels? I want you to look at this.
All right, Ron, we need to check the filter for your heating and cooling system.
I've been changing it about 4 years.
4 years. You should be changing this once every 3 months at the start of every season. Look at that.
Oh, that's ugly.
And it's spreading mold and bacteria and viruses throughout your air. Now, I recommend for you guys an ultra allergen filter, a 1500 rating. This is actually going to help you guys breathe better. It's going to help the children with asthma, and it's also going to reduce your electric bill. And I know everyone in the family has breathing problems.
Everybody.
So what we're going to do is we're going to take a sample of the air in this room.
Okay.
And what we're going to test for is mold, pollen, carcinogenic fibers, which is cancer-causing fibers like asbestos or fiberglass. I'm using your vacuum just as a suction.
Okay.
And I'm going to be collecting a sample.
So Lisa, what did we find in the air?
Well, as you saw from the tape, they hadn't changed their furnace filter in 4 years. Technically, they should have changed that filter 16 times in that time period. And this is a really major thing that viewers at home can do, you know, today. Just start changing that filter. So what we did is we took a sample and we sent this to the lab to get analyzed. And we found, with the allergen perspective, things came in pretty normal, as well as major chemicals. But we found a very serious dust problem. And this is a concern because of the kids' asthma. So in your family room that we tested, there were 324,300 particles per cubic meter. Just to paint a picture for you, an average home accumulates 40 pounds of dust a year. Your home was 60% higher than that. So this is a real concern.
Especially with respiratory problems, potential asthmatics in the family. But the other thing we tested that I was really, really curious to get the results of were the tests for mold, Ron.
Yeah, you know, we took a sample by the troubled area behind the washer and dryer where the water leak actually was. And we were really, really surprised. We actually found toxic black mold in your home. And we sent it off to the lab, laboratory diagnostic lab, and they determined that Stachybotrys mold spores were prevalent. And I want to paint a picture for you. Okay, if we were to take a sample in a home, and if it had 60 spores in the sample, that would be considered toxic. You had 13,560 spores in that sample. And this is, you know, Stachybotrys and black mold in general can potentially release mycotoxins, and it's potentially deadly for us to breathe in. So this is very important for you guys to hear.
Because what happens, you know, the toxic spores from these toxic molds, they can cause skin irritation, respiratory problems. You've had a lot of ailments. It can suppress your immune system. And then, as Ron mentioned, mycotoxins, they actually affect your body at the cellular level. There's something called cytotoxins. So they can literally affect your cells, which affects your overall health and can lead to all of the symptoms, everything from flu-like symptoms. It can worsen asthma, cause skin irritation. So these molds can be devastating, okay? But, and this is the important one, this is why you talked to the show, it's why we sent Ron and Lisa to you, because toxic mold is scary. Mold can be a good thing. There are such things as good molds.
But a lot, you know, this is really common in homes that have had water damage. You know, water gets in a flood or something, water behind the walls. You don't really see it growing, but it's inside the walls.
What steps can the Daniels family take?
Well, absolutely. There needs to be more testing, and ultimately, we need to make sure, you know, how far this is spread. We don't know. It's invisible. It's kind of scary. Particularly where the sample was taken. It was behind the washer, and that wall actually shares the same wall with your air conditioner and your heat system. So we recommend immediate remediation of that area. And it's okay. It's good. It's a good thing that you found this. I mean, it's really key to find. That's the most important thing, is to know that it's there.
And we actually are happy to report Mold Remedies. They have agreed to come into your home, more extensively investigate the problem, and they have also agreed to take care of the problem to rid your home of the mold. Okay? If you're at home and you're thinking that you may have a toxic mold problem, if you want more information on mold remedies, go to our website, thedoctorstv.com. We ran some more metabolic tests on the Daniels family. We wanted to see if their blood levels might be off in any way.
So we're here with Ashley and Matt, and you have a little baby Nathan is in the house now. And Lisa, you're going to show us how to test some of his toys for lead.
Exactly. One of the biggest nightmares a parent can have is to find out that their child's favorite toy is contaminated with lead. And I'm sure you're familiar, in 2007, there were 6 million recalls from toys imported from China. So it's really important that we test this. And we're going to break the ampule.
We're going to get ready.
Points A and B, we're going to break it, and we're going to shake to activate, and just do a little squeeze. And I'm going to be testing this lead fishing weight to show you what it would look like if it's positive.
Yeah.
So you see the red.
Yeah, the darker the color, the more lead that's in there. And so that's the higher the lead content. Yeah.
So it's kind of squeeze as you're rubbing
All right,
it.
so I'm going to take one of little Nathan's toys.
And then hold it out. And if it's yellow, white, that's actually good.
That
That's
good?
good news. That's good news.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
It takes about 30
And,
seconds.
yeah, and actually,
do it more?
unlike a pregnancy test, you actually want to keep checking this for up to an hour. It can actually activate for up to an hour.
No, this is important because first off, it's a silent killer. So a baby doesn't get symptoms. It can affect their blood, get anemic. At higher levels, it can affect their growth, development. It even can cause brain damage and death. Right. Lead is a bad thing.
So hopefully we found none in here.
Yeah,
So
well, how did your swabs look? Mine's still white. Oh, very good.
Now, where do you get these things?
Well, these actually you can get at any hardware store. And they're really inexpensive, so every family should have a couple of these on hand.
Definitely. So hopefully this will help a lot of you parents rid their homes of toxic toys. Coming up, I'll continue the countdown to show Ashley and Matt the #1 danger in their home. Find out how to correct the problem that claims the lives of thousands of children each year.
All throughout today's show, we've been helping you identify possible health risks inside your home. The Daniels family is back with us. Earlier, we revealed they have toxic mold in their house, as well as contaminants in their tap water. Before the show, we ran a broad range of what's called a biophysical test on both Christine and Ron, as well as their children, Jake and Zach. We wanted to see if this has affected their health. And the good news is, nothing really out of the ordinary, except for one thing in all 4 of you. You had an increase in what we call inflammatory markers. So these are like road flares, okay? They're a warning that there's an inflammatory condition going on in your body that very likely could be due to this toxic mold. So our hope is that by going into your home, getting rid of this toxic mold, those inflammatory markers will slowly disappear.
I am so relieved that there was something found, because I've been through so much with so many different doctors saying, can't find anything, it must be all in your head, you know, a woman, you must be depressed, maybe let's give you a pill. I mean, it's just, I've run the gamut of, I've just actually given up. I just couldn't find an answer.
Well, these are very difficult things to diagnose, and that's why I want to throw it to you, Lisa, really quickly. What can people do on their own if they are worried that maybe they've got mold in their homes to test for it?
Right, that's a great question. As you guys know, it can be very expensive to hire professionals to come out and test your home. You can comb through the yellow pages. You may get someone reliable and you may not. But we've created a kit. It's a do-it-yourself kit for families. It's called the Home Detox Green Toolbox. And in this kit is everything you need to test your home's water, air, lead, make your own non-toxic cleaning products, and a lot of information.
That's great.
Thanks for your tips today, and also for helping the Daniels family. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your help.